Let's talk about this incredible Hisuian Zoroark MOC. It's jam-packed with awesome techniques, some clever part usages, and it just looks so cool. So let's dive in and discuss, shall we? So this stunning MOC was built by Wormy World. He is an incredible builder. Go check out his other stuff. You will not be disappointed with what you see. There's going to be some links in the description, so please go check him out. But obviously this MOC here is based on the Pokemon Zoroark, more specifically the Hisuian form of Zoroark, as seen in the video game Pokemon Legends Arceus. Or Legends Arceus, however you want to pronounce it. Pokemon Battle Revolution taught me to say Arceus when I was like 8 years old, so I'm sticking with that. Anyway, so it's a pretty sick comparison to compare this MOC to the original source material. The builder, Wormy World, or Nathan, really nailed it. I think my favorite detail is probably how he did the hair design. The way Nathan translated the Hisuian Zoroark's unique colors is really something to be impressed by. Nathan's used some of these Pridak headpieces, which have this really unique sort of like red and white marbled look to them. And it's kind of just the perfect way of matching the colors used in the original source material. It's probably one of my favorite things about MOCs when you see someone use a piece that just perfectly matches something, and the piece was never designed to, be used in that regard, and yet it looks like it's a match made in heaven. It's just such a genius part use there. There's a few other brilliant little part usages on the hair design here. We can see some of these white croissant pieces, which came on the Parisian restaurant modular building. And we can also see a crater piece from some of the old Rakshi sets being used as these little sort of tufts of hair. It's always fun seeing weird and obscure things like this just being perfectly integrated into this design. Also, the idea of using some of these white hot air balloon pieces to sort of kind of almost like map out the rough shape of Hisuian Zoroark's hair, and then kind of off of that, Nathan's building in all sorts of different like tentacles and other pieces around it to make the hair look a little bit more accurate and stuff like that. That's a really smart way of doing that. Not only is the hair design going to be a little bit more sort of like lightweight and maybe hollow on the inside, it's also just a good way of using like one or two pieces to kind of get the bulk of the shape going, and you can kind of layer in details afterwards. So really smart from a design perspective, and also it just looks cool. Now, it does seem that this MOC needs this base to hold itself up. Now, I'm sure the hair isn't necessarily heavy, but I imagine it does have a fair bit of difficulty just, standing up on its own. And I think it's a really great idea if you do want to build a base around a MOC like this, because, hey, why worry about structural integrity and weight and all that sort of stuff when you can just put a base on it and it'll probably still look just as cool, Plus, hey, if you are going to do a base, you may as well add some of these awesome sort of shadowy effects and stuff here, so it kind of looks like Zoroark's using a move or something like that. It's a really fun detail. It's great to see just some typical trans purple limb pieces being used, as well as some of these interesting ribcage pieces from some of the G2 Bionicle sets. It's just a perfect way of kind of illustrating some of those, ghost-type moves there. There's also some really nice, awesome shaping going on with this MOC, and some beautiful, smooth textures all throughout it as well, specifically on like the body and the legs. But it's also great to see this kind of continued on both the shoulders and the knees. We can see some of these boat stud pieces are being used to connect the upper and lower limbs. And this is a great way of kind of maintaining that sense of smoothness all across the MOC instead of using your typical sort of ball and socket pieces, which might sort of disrupt that smoothness. This is a nice way of keeping that consistent. And hey, it's a really cool limb design too. Another fun thing to note is the finger design on this MOC. We can see one of these bracket pieces being used to attach some claws onto it. And then it seems that this bracket has a mixel joint attached onto it. And then attached onto that mixel joint is another mixel joint. This one has a sort of bar connection. And then that's just inserted into the natural holes within the typical Hero Factory armor piece. And then the rod that's sticking out, he's just attached a few other pieces just to kind of cover that up and keep it accurate to the source material and stuff. And yeah, it's a surprisingly simple but really, really nice kind of finger and arm design there. Really cool. Let's also take a quick look at the foot design on this MOC. The toes use some of these light bluish grey skeleton legs. Now these came in this colour specifically on some of the Lego Movie 2 skeleton figures. And then these are attached to this specific piece here. And then with a few other sort of Technic pieces here and there, we can then link it onto the ball joint. Pretty nice way of doing that leg design, but it is certainly using some illegal techniques here, because we can see on this ball joint here the stress that's being put on this piece here. So hey, yes, it's an illegal technique. It's putting some stress on pieces. Those could break, but it's still a really nice design. I like it. I also quite enjoy seeing this palm tree piece being used in grey, and this is just such a nice transition to kind of bring the foot and the lower leg up into the rest of the body there. This specific piece comes in this colour on both Kreka and Kitongu, two very nice Bionicle sets there. So hey, if you have this piece lying around in some other colours, or you have it from those two sets, maybe it's a good idea to use that piece for some future limb designs and some of your own Bionicle MOCs. So yeah, that's Hisuian Zoroark, a magnificent MOC by Mr. Wormy World. Be sure to follow him online. There's links to his stuff in the description below. If you enjoyed this MOC, you're going to enjoy everything else he's made. He is so good at building. So check those links in the description. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this technique breakdown. Thank you, happy building, and bye for now.